All right, I'm here with my buddy Lily, and this is Lily's Roadmap to Success. Do you want to get down? We'll see how you do. No, she wants to get down. So one of the things we talked about was dog consent. A lot of us don't even think about dog consent. A lot of dogs learn to bite or bark because people are not listening to them. So we did a little consent exercise where I had the guardians reach over her head, and Lily kind of turned her head to the side and lowered her head, and her ears flipped back. Those are cutoff signals. Cutoff signals for dogs often include turning away, lowering the head, backing away, flipping the ears back, sometimes freezing, sometimes seeing a lot of white in their eye. We call that whale eye. They'll lick their lips, they can turn their head and yawn, they might go away. Sometimes they'll roll over in their back and show you their belly and be submissive. Those are all the dogs ways saying, please, I don't want you to interact. After that, I had the guardian reach down and pet her on her chest, which is where she really enjoys it. And Lily did not offer any of those cutoff signals. And then I had the guardian hold her hand out, and then Lily touched her nose to the hand. And so basically, if anytime you want someone to meet Lily, I would just say, if you want to meet her, sure. You mind crouching down since she's so little, and can you hold out your hand to the side and try to get them to it on the right side or left side. Front facing is confrontational with dogs, sideways is more approachable, and for crouched down, we're not leaning over the dog, which will, I think, make Lily feel more comfortable. So they hold their hand out, Lily comes up and touches her nose to the hand, and then you can say yes for them if they don't, and you can just tell them. She really likes when people rub circles on her chest. So if you tell people what they want to hear or where she likes it, they're going to start doing this. So now Lily's like, I like meeting strangers. They all come and pet me. My favorite place. How do they know? They're not petting me on top of my head anymore. And if there is somebody that you don't want to meet, remember to use that little white lie about, oh, she has ringworm. I just found out at the vet, and the vet says it's contagious to humans, so nobody's supposed to pet her. And the people will walk away, and that's fine. The more that you manage the situation, the less she has to do it. Now, we also talked about marker words. Her marker word that we established was yes, and we also went over using a clicker. So yes and the clicker are the same thing. The marker word comes, or sound, the instant the dog does the thing that we want, unless the thing that we want has duration. If it has duration like potty or stay, we would say yes at the conclusion of it. Try to say yes in normal tone of voice. So at first you're like, yes, but later on we'll say yes. So inflection matters. So every time the butt hits the ground for a sit, you say yes. She lays her chest on the ground, yes. And it's always followed by a pet or a treat. Now, if it is something like potty, we wait for her to finish going potty, then say yes, and then give her that treat. We went through a loading exercise, walking around the house, saying the marker word and giving her a treat. Make sure that you guys do that today and tomorrow. Hopefully by the time you watch this, you've already done that. So walk around your house, click, treat, click, treat, click, treat, walk upstairs, downstairs. So she's used to that. Click means I'm about to get a treat. And then do that with yes, treat. Now, when we're inside and I don't have the clicker, that's when I would use the word yes. When I'm doing like click for looks like we did in the video above, or other things like that, I use the clicker, especially for outside because it's a more distinct sound. It's a little bit more precise. Now, we also went over hand targeting. Now, hand targeting is helpful because like what we talked about, if we hold our hand out, people are meeting her, we hold their hand out. Well, that hand targeting kind of helps her practice that. So if I don't have it linked above and you have questions about that, message me and I'll add a link to the write-up. But that's where you're going to chop your hand on either side of her face. She touches her nose, your hand. Don't move this hand. Put the treat on the hand and let her lick it up. And you say yes when she touches her nose to your hand. At first, we want her just turning her head, then turning her head and leaning, then turning her head and taking one step and then multiple steps. And eventually, you can use this as a recall. So you can, Lily's across the room and you say, boop, and she runs over and touches your nose to your hand. We also went over cues. Remember, don't assign a cue or try to use a cue unless you are 90% certain she's going to do the action. So if you're at the beach and she's really overly aroused, don't say come, come, come. She's going to practice not doing it. That's why I like using the boop exercise. Once you know she's doing it, you do yes, 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 boop, yes, and then when she touches. So you're saying yes for the touch. And eventually then you can use that as an alternative way of calling her. But again, don't use it at times where you don't think she's going to do it, just in that case, lure her. One of the lures, if you hold your hand like this, and a Lily, the lower you go, the more it's for her. Are you going to come and get this one? There we go. Nope, she's got to scratch first. So when I did it, if you notice, I curled my fingers as I went down. There we go. And then she came over. And then I let her sniff and I pet her on her chest. You can't see this off camera, that's okay. But so she stayed there. Remember, if she wants to walk away, that's a way of saying I don't feel comfortable with something. All right, let me see, what else we talked about? We went over exercise feeding her out a snuffle mat, a lick mat. When you have guests come over, that orange ball, put some kibble in there. You can put some of the tricky trainers in there as well. Let her nudge that around when guests are around. Give her a distraction so she's not barking at your guest. Give her a lick mat. Let her lick on that instead of barking at the guest. One of the guardians here has an issue with her licking because of allergies. So if she's really in a licky mood, give her a lick mat. Give her somewhere to do it appropriately instead of licking you. And that way it releases those endorphins and she's getting to do the thing that she wants without causing an issue. We also went over the pause interrupter a little bit. So if she's doing something we don't want, if she's about to go pee inside and we can catch her before, we go, when she looks at us, we go, boop. Then she runs over and touches her nose to our hand. We redirected her instead of catching her for doing the wrong thing. Remember, all attention is validating. Also remember that all behavior is trying to achieve something. So if she's doing something, ask yourself, well, what do you think she's trying to achieve? Is there a way for me to figure out a way for her to get what she wants without offering the behavior that I don't want? And then help her practice that multiple times until she's doing that, essentially. And that's really kind of a microcosm of what we went over today. I think the guardians, it was funny, they were having a conversation, they were both right and both could be improved a little bit. One of them wants to take her to a lot of situations, which we like, and that is good and helpful for her to practice, but only if it's a level that's low enough intensity that she can enjoy it. So I think that some of the situations we took her to were just overwhelming and too much for her to be able to go to. So what I'd like you to do is think about is practice for Lily. So the elevator. So we're going to, once a day, we're going to go in the elevator, we're going to have a whole bunch of treats, and we'll hold her if we need to. And remember, if she kind of whimpers, she's probably saying, I want to be further away. So turn her away. If you have to, turn her back to, put yourself in between her and whatever it is. If she can't see it, that's going to help her feel calm. But the idea is to have her in the elevator. As soon as somebody comes in, we're holding a treat up, give her a treat, and then give her another treat. We want to give her a treat so fast she doesn't bark at the person because she's getting the treat so fast. But after a while, then you can go treat and 1 second before you deliver a treat for all the treats. And eventually 2 seconds, 3 seconds, eventually work up to 5, 7, 10 seconds. So when somebody comes in the elevator, maybe you're holding a treat, she's looking at the treat, and somebody's right there, but I'm practicing not barking at them. And then when they're getting ding, the elevator doors start to open and they start to leave, yes, and give her that treat. So now when people get in the elevator, it's a good positive thing. We practiced helping her by creating a situation where it wasn't overwhelming, where we're not creating a whole bunch of packages and it's really busy and there's 12 people in the elevator. That's too much for her. Same with the restaurants. Go to a restaurant that you want to go to with her when it's like right after lunch and that they're just about closed and nobody's in there. Do the find it game. Find it and then drop a treat when she's looking. When she looks up, yes, then find it over here, find it over here. Get her sniffing the ground and getting a whole bunch of treats. The restaurant's empty, so she feels comfortable. Try to sit at the table you're going to sit at. And then next time, if that goes well, go there and meet with a friend for a very late lunch or just have a cocktail after lunch. Or, let's just get some almost palmers or some lemonades and sit in there and now she's meeting a friend that she's already comfortable with. If you want to meet people, I would meet people out in your parking lot, or if you can, go to a park somewhere. If somebody's meeting you and they're driving from far away, go to a little park somewhere so you can have the person meet you outside and then maybe give them some treats to give to her. Have them do the find it game. And so then you go for a little bit of a walk. Walking helps dogs process things. If you're in a nice park, it's like, man, every time I meet these new people, I'm in this very pleasant environment. There's a lot of distractions. I play the find it game. I get a lot of treats. And then afterwards, we go to my home. And I get to be in the person's lap and they're feeding me treats on the way there. So we set her up for success by kind of recreating the situation in a low enough level of intensity and helping her practice and have a successful experience. Then the next, as long as that's a successful experience, the next practice session we can make a little bit more realistic. Maybe meet another person or have the place a little bit busier or a little bit closer to the kids or the skateboards or whatever it is. But you have to go at her pace. Remember, if she wants to move away or she won't sit or she won't take a treat, and don't ask her to sit multiple times. She won't sit, won't take a treat, move further away and try again. And if we go at her pace, gradually she feels more comfortable because when I'm exposed to whatever it is, the good things happen. This is just for you guys, so if you want to make some noise, that's totally fine. Let me see. We also went over petting really for manners. And so a lot of times I think she's a little bit, I don't want to say petulant, but a little bit spoiled. She's a little under-socialized. She didn't get socialized as much as the guardian wanted to because it was COVID. And so a lot of this click for looks in the video above and the stuff we've talked about will help for that. But I think she also kind of thinks that because I'm super cute, I can kind of get my way. So next time she's demanding attention, she's scratching or jumping up on you, tell her to sit one time. If she sits within 2 seconds, say yes, and then pet her on her chest, and then get her on the couch or do whatever it is she wants if it's a small ask. Remember, give her that do-over. If they sit and she's like, barks at you or paws you, then that's her way of saying, I guess I really don't like it. And then just go back to what you're doing. Remember, playing hard to get works great for dog training as well as for dating. And then after a while, she'll start sitting to look at. So I ask the dog to sit or to lie down, provided they know both of those things. I usually don't ask for shake or paw because that kind of promotes pawing at you for attention. And remember to use the word of manners. So if somebody comes in the room and sees that she's up on my chin and she's scratching at me and I'm petting her, they say manners. They're saying, David, I think you might have forgotten to ask her to do something, to be polite, to ask for that attention. So I would stop petting her and say sit. If she sits, say yes, and then pet her on the chest, and I could tell the person, I actually invited her to jump up on my leg, but thanks for reminding me because I do forget to help her learn manners. Now the opposite side of that is the celebrate game. Celebrating is rewarding the dog when it does things voluntarily without you asking. So if Lily walks up to me, yes, and pet her on her chest. She sits down, yes, and pet her on her shoulder. She lays down, yes. She drinks water. She goes poop. She grabs one of her toys. Gives you eye contact. Anything that's a desirable action, if we can recognize she's about to do it, remember, we don't want to say the cue unless we are 90% certain she's going to do it. So I'd like you to name all of your toys. So I have a toy down on the ground, and you see she's going to grab one. You know, balls can be ball, but if there's other rope toys that she likes to play with, maybe play tug of war instead of wrestling with her. And so you call that one licorice because it's red and white striped, or candy cane, or whatever you want to come up with. So she's about to go grab the candy cane. You say candy cane. She grabs it and comes over to you, and you say yes. And then you play a little tug of war. Right before she drinks water, if you want it to be happy hour and she's going to drink water, say happy hour. Right before she drinks the water, when she gets done, say yes and pet her or give her a treat. So after a while, you can teach her to stretch on cue. Go to when she goes to the dog bed out there, call it Palm Springs or the spa or whatever it is. She's going to do something. So that way you can direct her. Hey, go, Palm Springs, and she runs outside. Instead of barking at your neighbor or your guest or whatever the case may be. Let me see. What else did we go over? We went over the CER. So that's called a conditioned emotional response, or CER. So for the harness, I'd like you to have treats in one hand and the harness in the other hand. Sometimes you need to switch them. So I have both the hands behind my back. I hold out the harness and make sure that the little strap isn't moving around. That'll throw her off. So gather it all up, hold it out. She looks at it, it goes away. Or she looks at it, you say yes, and then it goes away, and they give her a treat. Hold it out again, and after the second time, she started leaning towards it. And eventually she was touching it with her nose. And when she's touching her nose pretty easily, that's when I kind of held it and we gathered it up. And be careful when you're doing it. The tag that goes over her back was kind of throwing her off. So kind of hold it, rotate it like this, so the hole is here. So she's sticking her head through. So at first you're sticking your hand all the way through to here, then here, then here, then eventually you're holding it here. Eventually she's sticking her nose through it to get the treat that's over here. And don't be tempted to slide it over the last little bit. Let her do the whole thing. And when she gets done, say yes, and give her a treat. Then put the snap underneath, yes, and give her a treat. And do that, practice that multiple times a day when you're not taking her for a walk, so that she feels comfortable getting dressed up. And when you know she's going to stick her head through it all the way, come up with a word. Call it dress up, uniform. You put your shirt on. She comes over and sticks her nose through it, and then you clip it and say yes, and then give her a treat. We also talked about desensitizing her. So for the leash, for example, go over, pick up the leash. She gets really excited, just put it back down. And then do that multiple times throughout the day. And try to, if I'm going for a walk, maybe start doing that process 10 minutes before we're actually planning on leaving. So that way you don't get frustrated that she's slowing you down, and she gets desensitized to the exercise. We also did a quick little counter conditioning exercise of barking at the door. You can do this for anything else. In order for this to work, this is a little bit of the click for looks, but the intensity has to be low enough so the dog is not reactive. Barking is reactive. So what we want to do instead is go to the door and lightly knock and then give her a treat, provided she doesn't bark. She can look around, she can be aware of it, but then we knock a little bit harder. And eventually you're like pounding on the door like the police, and she's looking around like, somebody around here owes me a treat, And so the idea, we're making the association. So whatever the thing is that was scary of her, or she was scared of, now has been gradually traded into a positive, and we're doing it at her pace. So remember, if she wants to get up and move away, always let her do so. At the beach, I would again try to get like some sort of setup, something that you can put her in, not a cage, but like maybe a little mini tent or a two-sided tent, or I make little boxes that are for stackable things. I've seen people use that. She's so small, I put it on the side. So that way, if you get another dog come to the beach, she's off leash, but the beach is loud, she's not going to hear it. Do some find its, throw the treat in there, put a lick mat in there, let her lick that, and let the other dog pass by. If the dog is rushing at her, pick her up. and protect her from the other dog because we don't want to have a bad experience, and use that squeaker toy. So grab a couple toys, cut the squeaker out, and so that's kind of your last resort though. Don't do that unless you have no other alternatives. But the idea for that is we're going to squeak, and she sees the dog galloping towards her, you squeak while that dog's far enough away where she'll turn away. If she's in that hysterical mode, she's not going to hear anything. At that point, pick her up, turn your back to the other dog, or do whatever you have to do to manage the situation for her so she doesn't have to manage it herself. The more that we take care of it, the less she has to. When it comes to behavior modification, what we want to do is really stack a positive experience on top of another one that's successful. So she sees a dog, because now we're not taking her to the beach and just when we're enjoying the beach and having her see a dog, we're going to a place where there's going to be a lot of dogs walking in a park, but far enough away where we can manage the distance. So she looks at him, click, treat, and gradually you can collapse that distance. Eventually, and ideally your goal would be to find people where you can walk alongside them. They don't even necessarily know what you're doing. At first you're walking alongside them this far, but eventually you're getting closer and closer, and eventually it's human, dogs on the outside, and she's practicing walking with another dog. There's no pressure. I don't get attacked. I don't have to sniff that dog. That dog doesn't sniff me. We're not interacting, but we are having a shared positive experience. And the more of those shared positive experiences that we can stack on top of each other, it's just like, oh yeah, dogs are just things that I go walk around to the dogs. People get in the elevator, I get treats. I see kids playing and I get treats. So having one of this is Lily, find it. Now you can't reinforce an emotional state. So by doing a lot of fineness and dropping treats on the floor, I don't know if that was a sound that I made that she thought was at the door, or there's somebody out there, or the sirens, or it could be a combination of all those things. But if I say be quiet, she's like, yeah, he's barking too. And she's that right there, she was in a hysterical state. She's not going to hear anything. So you have to pick her up. But the best thing to do is when she's like that is increase distance between her and whatever it is. And a lot of times you have to turn her, block it with a car or a shrubbery or your body so that she can't see it. All right, let me think. I think that's just about it. Is there anything else you guys want me to cover?
No, I think that was it.
Okay. So now if you do think of anything later on, please let me know. We didn't get a chance to work on leash training. If you want to work on that, let me know. We can come back and do a 1-hour session and focus on anything that you need to do. But I really, yes, celebrate. Yes. Make sure you say celebrate to her just like you're doing right there. That's perfect. And I know it seems like, God, I'm petting her all the time. Yeah,
no,
we're not barking. She's not barking. We're petting her for things she wants. That way she knows the things that we want. So I'd like you to, my clients that get the best response are the ones that watch this video about once a week until when you watch the video, you're like, yep, we're doing everything. Because I cover so many things here. Now, if you have questions on this or anything else, please message me. If I don't hear from you, I assume that means everything's going great. So please let me know. No matter how long it is after this, I'm happy to work. She's such a cutie, and you guys were a lot of fun to work with. So please let me know. Lily, want one more treat? Come here. There we go. Yes. Oh, yes. Well, this is my little buddy, Lily, and this is Lily's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.